I'm going to tell you guys why I believe the Milwaukee Bucks are delaying the inevitable with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and why I believe it is time for them to move on. Trade him already. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and to continue to support my channel.
Big as the Super Bowl.
The Milwaukee Bucks made a couple of transactions yesterday. A couple of transactions that, quite frankly, shocked me. And for those of y'all that haven't paid attention, the Milwaukee Bucks the other day, they signed Miles Turner away from the Indiana Pacers to a 4-year, $107 million contract. And in the process of doing that, they actually stretched and waived Damian Lillard, which means Damian Lillard is no longer on the Milwaukee Bucks. They paid him to get off the team. I think the Bucks are owed $113 million, and so they got to pay him all that money for the next, I guess, 4 years, and now he's off the team, and they signed Miles Turner in the process away from Indiana. Like, man, how did they pull this off? Like, how? But they did it, and Indiana, somehow, they were like, despite going to the NBA Finals, and look, maybe the Tyrese Halliburton Achilles injury had something to do with it. Who knows? But Miles Turner is gone. The Pacers didn't want to pay him the $25 million that he was looking for. They offered him, what was it, 22, 23? You know, so he's gone, and he's a Milwaukee Buck, and Damian Lillard's gone. And so they end up cutting him, paying him to get off the team, and just a wild sequence of events with the Milwaukee Bucks. And now the Milwaukee Bucks have Miles Turner. And when I first saw this move happen, my instant reaction to what the Milwaukee Bucks did with just getting Miles Turner, signing him, and stretching Damian Lillard, getting him off the team, cutting him, or whatever the case may be, my instant reaction with all of this is the Milwaukee Bucks are delaying the inevitable. I don't see the point. Look, I get that they're trying to make it work with Giannis, and they're trying to construct the best possible team that they can possibly get with Giannis on the team, and I get all that. And I get that you don't want to move Giannis because he's Giannis. He's a superstar. He's all we have in Milwaukee. We won a title. We've been a consistently good team for the past 7 years. Like, I get it. But Milwaukee, listen to me. You got to move on. Miles Turner is not, look, he's a good big man. And he played a pretty big part of the Pacers having this deep playoff run. He's been pretty good for the last decade. I get it. Miles Turner is not changing life for the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, it's not happening. The Milwaukee Bucks are not good enough roster-wise to build a championship contending team around Giannis. They still don't have a point guard. They don't have a second scorer. They don't have enough perimeter defense. They don't have enough athleticism on their team. And when you look at the Eastern Conference, even despite the fact that Boston and Indiana are basically trying to treat this coming year as like a bridge year, a semi-rebuilding year, they want to get their books in order. They want to make sure that Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum get healthy. And so next season doesn't really matter for either of them teams. But even despite that, I don't think you're better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, no. Like, the Milwaukee Bucks, to me, are not better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Milwaukee Bucks are not better than the New York Knicks. The Milwaukee Bucks are not better than the Orlando Magic. The Milwaukee Bucks are not better than my Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, that's right. I said it. The Milwaukee Bucks are not better than this current version of the Atlanta Hawks, who had an unbelievable offseason. I'll probably get into that in a little bit in a later episode, but never the case. They're not better than the Atlanta Hawks. And I don't think they're better than the Detroit Pistons. I think the Detroit Pistons are better than the Milwaukee Bucks. And so there's at least 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that I would take over this current version of the Milwaukee Bucks. And like the Philadelphia 76ers, like I think there's some upside with their team. Look, I don't want to. I'm kind of done banking on the Philadelphia 76ers and believing that Joel Embiid is ever going to stay healthy and Paul George is going to have a healthy year. Like I don't know about them. But if you squint your eyes and you look at like their roster, like you can kind of see it if things go right. And so I will probably take Philadelphia's outlook over the Milwaukee Bucks. And so I look at all of that, man, and I'm just like, what are the Bucks doing? Like, why are you using a stretch provision to cut Damian Lillard so you can have more money on your books in the coming 2 to 3 years, while you're desperate enough to try to keep Giannis and you're trying to build together a team despite the fact that you don't own your first round pick, you don't have a lot of assets to construct a roster. Like, what are the Bucks doing? Like it's just there's desperation, and there's desperation, and this Miles Turner signing, with them waiving Damian Lillard, reeks of desperation, and it reeks of the kind of desperation that is not gonna work out. It's not gonna work for them. It's gonna blow up in their face. And so, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, look, I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow for their fans. It's just this. It's a hard pill to swallow. But the reality is for the Milwaukee Bucks is the longer you're doing this, trying to piece together, this team, you're putting lipstick on a pig. You're throwing arrows at the target and you're missing. Like it's not gonna happen for the Milwaukee Bucks. It just isn't. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, it's time. I said it a couple of months ago, the moment they were eliminated by the Indiana Pacers in the first round. And I'm saying it now. The Milwaukee Bucks needs to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's time. It's time to move on. You won your championship. You had consecutive good teams. You had some bad luck along the way. You had a team where Chris Middleton couldn't stay healthy. Giannis couldn't stay healthy one of those years. This past year, it was Damian Lillard with the Achilles thing. He couldn't stay healthy. Like, it's been some bad luck. But at the same time, you don't have the assets anymore. You don't have the draft picks anymore. You don't have the young talent anymore. The Bucks haven't really done a great job of drafting. Actually, they haven't even done a good job of drafting. Like, I can't remember a draft pick on their roster that I look at and say, man, that dude's a player. Like, I don't see it. And so they haven't really drafted well. And it's kind of left them in this position where, like, look, man, like, it's going to be hard, but they don't, you look at their roster, there's one key asset on their team. It's Giannis. And they don't have a choice. It's a hard pill to swallow. I get it. Where the Bucks are as a franchise and with that roster, there's no other option to me but to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. And look, it's gonna be a little hard. It's just this. But I think for them, the Bucks are in a spot where a tear down and a rebuild is necessary in order for them to move forward. If they traded Giannis, I'm sure the Houston Rockets will probably be at the top of the line. They have attractive assets. Even still, despite them trading for Kevin Durant, they still got some attractive assets. You got Şengün. You got Jabari Smith, who they just extended. You got Tyree Eason, Reed Shepherd. I don't think they're gonna move Amen Thompson. So forget about him. Like they're not moving him. And so you got all of these young guys, and they have Phoenix's picks, which are incredibly valuable, and some of their own picks. And so the Houston Rockets have some assets. If my Atlanta Hawks surprisingly wanted to get in on Giannis, they have some attractive stuff. They got your own pick from the Pelicans. If you want that pick, maybe the Atlanta Hawks can offer that pick back to you. And they also have the Bucks pick in 2027. I think they have like the worst of the Bucks and Pelicans pick in that from that year. And so they got that pick. Then you got Jalen Johnson and Reggie. Look, obviously they're not going to move Dyson Daniels. I don't see that happening because you need some defense around Trae Young. And so they're probably not going to move him. But, they got some stuff. And you got Conwell to a lesser degree. And so, they could put together an enticing package. The San Antonio Spurs, with one of their guards, with Dylan Harper or with Stephon Castle, and they got picks. And so, maybe they could put together something that's interesting. And there's probably some other teams that I'm not talking about. But the point is, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, it's time. It's time for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's time, Milwaukee. It's time, Bucks management. It's time for you to pull the plug on this Giannis experiment because it's over. I mean, the team has reached a dead end with this situation. It's reached a dead end, and the Miles Turner signing. Look, I give you credit for being creative, but I don't think the Miles Turner signing is a needle mover. Yeah, he's younger than Brook Lopez. Okay, he's younger, but I don't think he makes you that much better, considering the fact that you still don't have a point guard, you still don't have enough perimeter defense, and you don't really have a second scorer. And I don't know how you're gonna get all of that when you don't really have a pick to use in trade. I think you have one pick. So you have one pick. I don't see it. I think their roster is just so flawed and weak that they just have such a long way to go to get back to the level that Giannis wants them to be at, which is contending for championships. And I don't see it with the Milwaukee Bucks, even with this Miles Turner move. I just don't see it. Like I said, I look at the current Eastern Conference. Even now, there's at least 5 teams that I think are better than them. The Cavs, the Knicks, the Magic, my Hawks, and the Pistons. I think all 5 of those teams are better than the Milwaukee Bucks right now. And there's probably going to be a couple of other teams that we don't see coming that could surprise people because those teams have young talent and some of their young players could grow. And so, like I said, man, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are wasting everyone's time with this Miles Turner move. I don't think it's a needle mover. And quite frankly, I think the Milwaukee Bucks are all this is doing for the Milwaukee Bucks is they are delaying the inevitable with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I just think it's only a matter of time. It might not be later. It might not be this summer, but so maybe sometime later on during midseason or no later than that summer. But there's gonna become a point where the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis are gonna see the light, and they're gonna come to the realization that it is best for both parties to split, to part ways. And for Giannis to play on a different team in order for him to contend for a title. And for the Milwaukee Bucks to just end this experiment and move in a different direction and rebuild your team. And recoup some of those picks that you lost. And so that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I am with the situation. It's not a good situation for the Bucks. I wouldn't wish any fan base to be where the Bucks are at currently. It's not a good situation for them. But look, man, sometimes basketball franchises got to make hard decisions. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, I think they need to stop the Milwaukee Bucks need to stop delaying the inevitable. And I think it's time that they move Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I personally believe, in my opinion, that decision would be best for both parties.